Hello guys, and welcome in the fourth episode. In this episode we will apply the flagged image onto our flag objects. So every time we start the game we will spawn the random flag from the certain continent into all of these three game objects, and then our final flag, which will match the text displayed below, will be spawned in the random location, one of these three places. So let's get started. Just open the scripts folder and open the game data script. We will need to add one more function here. So right at the bottom, I'll create another function which will be public void assign array of country. Okay. So in this function we will set the current data set based on the selected continent. So our country data set will be equal to new country data, and this is going to be array. Because we don't have this switch yet, which will be used here later, I will just for now we will concentrate on the European countries. But this one will be changed later. So we want to take the European country data set length. So it's going to be the same size as the European countries. And then we want to copy this array to the country data set. Copy to, and then we need to pass this array, and we want to start from the index 0. Okay. So that's it. That's it for now inside this function. Okay, let's go back to the Unity. Now we need to create another script which will be the current data for the current selected game. So right click, create C# script, and then I will name it current game data. Okay, let's open that script. Should be open straight away. Okay, we will need a few variables here. So right at the top, first of all, I don't want to show them in the inspector, but I want to keep them public, so I will put hide in inspector, and then I will add the variable public int first flag index. First flag index will be equal to 0, then public int second flag index, and then public int final flag index. Okay, and then we want to add another private variable, private int previous final flag index. Okay, so this variable will be used to actually store the previous final position where previous final flag which we chosen, so to make sure we're not displaying the same flag over and over again. You will see actually in a minute how we're going to use this variable. Then we want to create one more variable, which is the private int countries per game is equal to 60. So this variable will determine how many flags we're going to select for the certain continent. So that's going to be the maximum number of flags. So this is how many countries should be in one game. Okay. So right at the bottom, I will add another function, public void pick countries for game, Okay, and in this function we will add one more variable, which will be so in this function we're going to populate our current data set from the game data. So we're going to populate country set per game, this array, with selected flags from our database. Okay, so basically this variable will determine how many flags we already picked. So every time we pick the flag, we're going to increase this variable, so we will know how many flags we already have. So in order to do that, we need to go through all of the flags in the array. So let's create a for loop. Int index is equal to 0. So we want to start from the first element. Index is less than the game data dot instance dot country dot data set dot length index plus plus. Okay, so inside this function, inside this loop, if our picked country number, so if we selected more, if we already selected more flags than the maximum allowed countries per game, we don't want to select anymore, so we're gonna break. Okay, otherwise if game data dot instance dot country data set at index dot quest is equal to false. So we want to make sure we're not selecting the I mean, in the first order we will try to not select the flags which we already guessed, so we avoiding the duplication of the same flags being displayed over and over again. But if in some cases we don't have enough flags, so we guessed almost all of the flags, we want to actually select some other flags to fill up our array with the one which we already guessed. Okay, hopefully that I didn't make this one too complicated. So game data dot instance dot country set per game. So we want to fill up this array at the index picked country number. So how many country we already picked, we already selected. So it's going to be equal to game data dot instance dot country data set at index. Okay, so if this country is not guessed yet, we're gonna actually take this country and put it in our country set per game. So we want to use this country in our game. So as I said, if for any reason we don't have enough flags here, we want to go through this loop again. So I'm gonna copy the whole loop, and I'm gonna paste it below. And before this loop, I want to actually put the if statement. So if our picked country number is less than the countries per game, minus 1. So we want to then do this loop. Okay, so just make sure you have the right, you matching the brackets. So if for any reason we didn't select enough flags, so this is the check, we want to go through the loop again, and we want to selecting the one which we already guessed. So we need to change this from false to true. And there's one more thing we forgot to increase this variable. So every time we select the country, we want to actually increase this variable. Okay, over here and over there. So I'll put the comment here: if we do not have enough countries. Select random which were guessed. Okay, so that's it for this function, and we need to create another function, because in this function we actually populate this array. So then we need to select 3 flags out of this array. So it's going to be completely random flags. So I'm going to scroll down and I will create another function. There. So it's going to be public void get new country, get new countries. Okay, so the get new countries function, first of all we will store the previous final flag index will be equal to the final flag index. Okay, so we want to store the previous final flag from the previous game, so we're not to preventing it actually from getting the same flag in the next game. And then and over here we need to actually check if we still have some flags available to select. So we want to go through this array and check if there is any flag which has not been guessed yet, because if we guess all of the flags for the certain continent, the game is ended, so the player have won. So right below I will quickly create another function, which is private int get number of flags left. Okay, so this function, I don't know what's wrong with these brackets today. Okay, in this function we will check how many flags we still have left to select. So first of all I will create a variable int left is equal to 0, and then we want to go for int index is equal to 0, index is less than the game data dot instance dot country set per game. Okay, make sure you're selecting this country set per game array, because this is the array used in this game. Length, and then we wanna index plus plus. Okay, so in this one we will check if game data dot instance dot country set per game at index dot guessed is equal to false. We want to increase the left plus plus. Okay, so we're going to start from 0, and then we want to return left. Okay, so we want to use this function in the previous function, in the get new countries. So if we still have something, we still have some flags available for us, then what we want to do, we want to actually assign those 3 indexes. Okay, so we want to get first of all the final flag index. So I'll create a do while loop, and then inside this loop we're gonna go final flag index will be equal to int random dot range and then we want to get the random number from 0 to the game data.instance .country set per game .length. Okay, so we want to get the completely random number, random index of the country, and then we want to avoid the situation where this previous flag index will be equal to the final to this flag index. So we want to put in the while this one is equal to this final flag index, or the game data dot instance dot country set per game at final flag index is dot guessed is equal to true. So we don't want to get the same flag as was selected in the previous game, and we don't want to also get the flag which has been already guessed. Okay, so this check is guarantee us we have at least one flag which has not been guessed. So we want to keep looping until we satisfy any of this condition. Okay, so this is the final flag. So the next one we're gonna do, we actually can copy this loop and put it below. Okay, so in this loop we're gonna select the first flag index. So we're gonna change this one to the first flag index, and then we wanna make sure the first flag index is not equal to the final flag index. So we can delete this one, because the first flag index can be flag which has been already selected in the previous game. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so until this one is equal, it's going to keep looping. And then let's copy this function again, this loop again. And then we want to select the second flag index. Second flag index, okay. And the second flag index the loop will be looping until the second flag index is equal to first flag index, or the second flag index is equal to final flag index. Okay, so we don't want to have the same flags. Like, let's say final flag index was selected like I don't know, Romania. We don't want to have Romania in the second flag, so the Romania will not be duplicated, because that will not make sense for the game. Okay, so after we've done this one, we need to, inside this loop, we wanna assign that this certain flag has been questioned. So game data dot instance dot country set per game final flag index dot being questioned is equal to true. So we will know which flag has already been questioned. Okay, so that's fine. And otherwise, if we don't have any more flags to actually select, we want to inform that the has been completed. So game finished is equal to true. Game finished. Okay, I'm gonna create quickly this variable. So that's gonna be private bool. Game finished is equal to false. Okay, and then I want to copy this one and put the same in our start method, start function. That's fine. Okay, I will also create the getter function for this three. Theoretically, this could be private. I might change it later, but not for now, not yet. So we can, okay, so right at the bottom we can create some functions which we might need later. So there's going to be public int get flag name length, so this function will be int flag index. This function will return the length of the name of the flag, so we want to make sure we're displaying properly the full name, and the name will fit the box, the text box. So it's going to be return the game data dot instance dot country set per game at flag index dot name dot length. Okay, and then another function is going to be public int get first flag index, and that's return first flag index. So another one will be public int get second flag index, and then we want to return the second flag index, and then last function will be public int get final flag index, and we want to return the final flag index. Okay, and then one more function, we want to have a function to be public int set guest. This function will be setting the final flag, so game data dot instance this function should actually return the void, because we don't want to return anything from this function. So country data set country set per game at final flag index dot go dot guest is equal to true. Okay, so this is just the wrapper function. And then there is one more function which we will have to create. The function is public sprite get flag sprite index int flag index. So we want to return the sprite image for the selected flag. Okay, so this function will just do that. Game data dot instance dot country set per game at flag index dot flag. Okay, so basically this class is just a wrapper around the game data class, so it's much easier to use it. Okay, so I think that's it for this class. Then we will need to create another C# script. So go back, just make sure you save everything. Go back to the Unity, and then we will need to create another flag. So right click, create C# script, and I will call it flag manager. Flag manager. Okay, let's quickly open this script. Okay, and then in the flag manager, we actually want to first of all we want to store our flags. So public game object, and there's going to be array, and it's going to be flag objects. So this is going to be this array will hold all of the flags in the game. Then we want to have a private int number of flags objects is equal to 0. Okay, and the number of flag objects in the start method, we want to actually assign it to be equal to flags object.length. Okay, there is one more variable we need to add, which is going to be the flag data. So that's going to be private current flag data. So this is the instance of the previous class which we created, and I will call it m_game data. Okay, and we will need to actually assign this variable to be pointing to the right data. So let's grab this name, and then in the start function just assign it to be equal to game object.find, and I want to find a game object which will be with the name of game data object. So it's going to be dot get component. I want to get a component of the current game data, right? And then we want to make sure this component is get as a current game data. So basically what we want to do, we want to keep hold of the instance of the game data, of the current game data. So in our editor, for the scene where we want to use this flag manager, we will have to create the object which will be named the game data object, and this object will have to have this current game data script in. Okay, so that's fine. And then once we've done it, we want to create another function right below, which will be public in public void assign flags. Okay. Oh, is it really annoying, these brackets? Okay, so the assign flags, this function will be actually assigning the certain sprite for the flag object. So first of all, int final flag position is equal to int random.range. We want to get the range from 0 to number of flag objects. Okay, so this basically we want to select the random flag where we want to have our final flag displayed, so it's always going to be different. And then we can have a three situation, so switch final flag position, and then we will have like the situation where our flag will be on the position 0, so case 0 break. Another situation will be where the flag will be on the position 1, so case 1 break, and then another one will be case 2 break. Okay, so we will have three situations. So whenever the final flag will be selected will be assigned to position 0, we want to populate the flag objects, 0 dot get component sprite renderer dot sprite is equal to game data dot get flag sprite index, So we want to get the sprite for the final flag. So game data dot get final flag index. Okay, So you want to get the sprite for the final flag. We can actually duplicate the same thing. So we for the position 1, we want to do the same, but we want to, instead of taking the final flag index, we want to take the first flag index. Get first flag index. Okay, make sure it's a first, not the final. And then we want to duplicate it again, and for position 2 we want to get the second flag index, right? Okay, so we want to copy this one, and then for when the final flag will be at the position 1, we want to do exactly the same, but we want to get the final flag on position 1. So I will just move this line, the top line, in the middle, and I will change the indexes. So it's going to be 0, 1, and 2. So on position 1, we will have the final flag index. On position 0 will be first, and on position 2 will be second. So we want to copy this one again and then paste it here. So when we want to assign the final flag on the position 2, we want to do the same. Okay, so that's going to be 0, and we want to change the index 0, 1, and 2. So our final flag will be on the position 2. Right, so we want to create right above this function, we want to create another function which will be void first run. So if there will be a first run, we want to actually assign the flags. So we want to copy this function and put it here. So we're going to call it from the first run function. Later on, we're going to add some more logic to the first run function. So, but just for now, this function will be here. And then we want to call this first run from within the update function. But before we do that, we want I actually going to create another variable right at the top below the game data. I will create the private bool first run, maybe is first run will be equal to false, and the is first run will be equal to true inside the start function. And then we want to restart this is first run inside the first run. So inside the first run function, we want to set the variable is first run to be false. Okay, and then inside the update function, we want to do something like if is first run. Then we want to call it first run function. Right? So at this moment, because the is first run is set to true in the start method, so we will want to execute this function. And then once it's executed, the first run is set to false, and this code will never be executed again. Okay, so I think that's enough for this script. There's one more thing which we need to add in the current game data class. So switch to that class now. Make sure you save everything. And then right at the top in the start method, we wanna call some function. So game data dot instance dot assign array of countries. So this function, this assign array of countries, is gonna be setting the current data set to some. We'll set the current data from the selected continent. Okay. So we want to call this function, and then we want to check. Actually, we have this variable here, which is the countries per game, but we are not sure if the countries per game will not be more than the countries available for the certain continent. So in case this country per game is set to greater value than game data dot instance dot country data set dot length. Okay, in case this value will be set to the greater, will be more than that, then we want to actually countries per game will be equal to exactly the length of the selected continent. Okay, so that's fine. And then we want to create the game data dot instance dot countries set per game to be equal to new game data country data, and the size will be this size. So we want to have the same size of the array as the array from the selected continent. Okay, and then right below we want to actually right at the bottom we want to actually call this function pick countries for game, the function which we created before, and then get new countries. Okay, right, so I think that's it. Let's save everything and go back to the Unity. Okay, then inside the Unity, make sure you are in the game scene, and we want to create a new object. So right clicked, create empty, and I will name it oh, actually I need to check the name. So the name was in the flag manager. Yeah, we want to create an object called game data object. So let's copy this name, and then a game object which we added will be named exactly like that. Okay, so into this game we will wanna to this game object we wanna grab the current game data script and add it to it. So the second flag index and the first final flag index is displayed here, so we don't really want to see it because this is supposed to be like inside the class only. Let's open the script, current game data again. Oh yeah, we have added the hiding inspector, but only for the first flag index, so we want to do it the same for the second and for the final. And then there is one more thing which we actually want to do. We want to add another function here, awake. So right above start, let's put public void awake, and in the awake we want to preventing this script from being destroyed. So don't destroy, don't load, and then we want to pass this. Okay, so when we change the scene we will not destroy the script. Okay, that's it. Save it. Make sure you save everything and then switch back to the Unity. So let's see our game data object. Yeah, the current game data does not have anything displayed. We need to add another script, the flag manager. The flag manager will be under the main camera. So click on the main camera and drag and drop the flag manager there, and then see the flag objects. I will set, we have 3 flags, so I will set the size of 3, and then we need to get the first one and add it here, get the second flag, add it there, and the third one which will be there. Okay, so make sure you save the scene, right, and then go back to the main menu scene. Just open the main menu. And then make sure we have everything set here. Yes, that's fine. Okay, we can try to start our game. Just make sure you're starting your game from the main scene, as all of the data for the continent, remember in the last episode you set all of this data, are set in the main menu scene. So if you start the game from any other scene than the main menu, this data will not be set. So the game will not work properly. So let's try it out. Just press play. And press play. Yeah, I think we have the flags, but there is a weird thing happening here. So probably I have something wrong with the display. Let's switch this one to the free aspect. No. Yep. I think the camera is at the wrong location. So let me just double check. Okay, let's just see all of the settings. Okay, as you see, the play button is like much smaller when I switch the resolution. To actually fix it, we can do like select the canvas and then change this rendering mode to screen space camera, and then drag and drop the main camera over here. Okay, and then under the scaler script, switch the scale to the scales with screen size, and then set it like to 0.5. So basically when we're switching from one resolution to the other, as you see now here, you see the button is staying in the same position and it doesn't really go away anywhere. Okay, right, so let's go to the game scene and do the same for the game scene. Let's save the scene, and then in the game scene, for the canvas we want to set the screen space camera. We already did it for it, so set the scale and then 0.5. okay, so save the scene. Okay, go back to the main menu and just try to start again. We see what's happened now. Right, we clearly see like the flags are too big. Let's see the country flag one. The scale is set to 3. What happened if we set to 1? The changes which we are making now are not gonna be saved. So I think the 1 is fine. Let's set the scale. Okay, let's stop it. Go back to the game scene. Select all of these 3 flags and let's set scale to 0.4 and then 0.4 and then maybe 1. Whatever. This is actually not important. The last one. Okay, save the scene. Go back to the main menu. Press play. And then you see we have the flags. They are not selectable yet, but we can actually see that every time we're starting the game, we have a different flags selected. So I think the code which we've written is working fine. So as you can see, there are different flags. Right. So I think that's fine. Everything's working as it should. So in the next episode, we're actually gonna display the correct text here, and we will make these flags clickable, and then apply the rotation for them. So every time we clicked on any of the flag or pressed or touch it on our mobile device, the flag will rotate, and once they rotated, the texture will be changed to different flag, and we're gonna have another question. So thank you very much for watching. I know this episode has been a little bit longer because we have coded a little bit more than usual, but I think it was worth the effort, so we have a nice flag displayed. So Thanks again and see you again in the next episode.